Hey, what's up guys, it's ElasticSpyder here. In today's video, well, we're looking at the Tier 9 American heavy cruiser, the USS Buffalo. Now, this ship is kind of an interesting ship, at least for me, because it wasn't actually made, and for me, I'm more of a historical type of guy, and I do like the more historical aspect of a game like World of Warships, and I can kind of look at history and kind of and look at this game and then kind of make connections. I know that's not probably the best way to go about it, but for me, I like seeing that comparison and seeing visual models of actual ships is just cool. But in this game, the Tier 9 USS Buffalo didn't exist, so we're gonna have to kind of fudge things a little bit, I guess you could say. Now, this is actually my second game in this ship. The first game I played, I was actually on this map. I didn't do as hot. Now, oddly enough, I actually was streaming this, so if this looks somewhat familiar to a couple of you, then that might be the case. But so you might have already seen this, but I did stream this. I think Monday, and no, I think it was Wednesday actually. No. Never mind. I'm stupid. Don't just forget what I just said. But either way, the USS Buffalo. It's one of these ships that I thought was going to be a little bit overpowered, and I'm gonna hold my judgment right now. But I do think it is a very strong ship, and well, got some nice crew voices here, and the AA isn't spectacular. It's compared to the it doesn't feel as potent as something like the Baltimore used to, but I would still say that it is quite a good AA suite if you do spec into it. Now of course I don't have the best captain in this ship, so that does have something to do with it, but I think regardless of what the AA comparisons were to the old Baltimore at Tier 9, I do think that this ship does have one very unique attribute to that, and of course it's got 12 guns that it can shoot instead of 9, and this allows you to, in my opinion, play the Buffalo more like a standard cruiser than a, let's say, US cruiser. It allows you to go around and kind of play this somewhat different play style, where with the US cruisers generally, I'm talking referencing kind of the old US cruisers, but I mean it still applies here. The old cruisers, US cruisers, or the new US heavy cruisers, their playstyle was generally stick more closely to islands and kind of use those islands to your advantage, and these ships tended to struggle on more open maps such as, well, Tears of the Desert and Ocean. I know that map has pretty much gone out of existence at this point, but and sometimes with this map too, it can US cruisers can struggle. That's why typically I always like going to sea in my US cruisers, or even just cruisers in general. But this ship is, well, it's amazing because it has that 12 gun setup, and I'm just destroying this one Buffalo, and I kind of already punished his friend earlier because they were just, you know, playing pretty poorly. So I guess I was a little bit lucky here that they're kind of just sitting there broadside beached, and well, I'll take that kill and 7 citadels any day. So there's 2 Buffaloes down at the beginning of the game. Over at A, it looks like 2 of their ships have already died, and it looks like 2 of our ships have been taken as well. We do have probably the better cap and positional advantage, I would say. We've got some nice control over the C cap, pretty definitive control over the C cap and even B cap. But A cap, we still have it, but it looks like it's probably going to get lost. Now, the thing with the Buffalo, and this is kind of my first impressions on it, since I haven't really been paying much attention to the US cruisers in general, so and I like to do that because I want to see how they actually play when I play with them. You know, I don't want to look at their stats, and because stats they do tell some truth, but at times, you know, it depends on what the truth is. That, you know, your truth. If you want stats to go a certain way, you can make them go a certain way. That's basically what I'm trying to say, and I don't want to have to deal with that. And I just want to get my hands on the ship, and I want to see the statistics, and kind of base my playstyle around those statistics, and form my general playstyle for a ship. And that's kind of how I do it. So my first impressions of the ship is, okay, well, it's got 12 guns. So that's one thing. One thing was that I anticipated it to be, you'd be able to play more like a general cruiser. You could do a little bit more open water stuff than the typical U.S. cruiser, and for the most part, at least for me, that seems like that's the case. And that one was a little bit unexpected. I didn't expect to, you know, kind of play the Buffalo in this way, but it's something that I've learned quickly. Now, another thing that I was actually expecting, I was expecting that this ship would be very, very good. Apologize for the Discord notifications. Oh boy, so they are just going crazy. Yeah, so one thing I do think that this ship is also good at is alpha strikes. Because it's got 12 guns, its alpha strikes should be pretty much insane. I mean, when I've been playing this ship, and I've been shooting HE at things like battleships and even cruisers, but specifically battleships. Battleships, I tend to get 6, 7, 8K HE salvos, and things like that remind me of well, you didn't see that there, but I think this is going to be a good salvo here. It just reminds me of things like the Zau or the Hindenburg, but this is at like 5,500. That's I think when I think of HE salvos, I think of not a tier 9 U.S. cruiser. I think of, you know, tier 10 cruisers like 5,300. What is this? So these big alpha strikes, I think this is critical to the ship. And I think you're actually going to be playing the ship a little bit more like maybe a Zau would, where you use your stealth for the most part to get into good positions, and then just hammer these big alpha strikes home. That was a poor shot there, but I think that's just the best play style for the Buffalo, is just kind of use the concealment, use it to go undetected at times, and then just blop enemies. And since you do have American piercing shells rather, you know, when you do choose to use your AP, well, you know, it's quite devastating. And granted, you still do have that the downside that it is American piercing, and their shell trajectory is rather slow, but so that's one thing, and that's a good thing. I do like that very much about the Buffalo. The other thing that I kind of anticipated was, kind of going off the last point, is that I do think that since the Buffalo has 12 guns, I think it would actually be quite good in close quarters. Now, you'll kind of see in probably about the next 4 to 5 minutes here why I don't think that's actually the case. Now, the reason I anticipated this was things like Hindenburg. Now, granted, the Hindenburg's armor scheme is completely different, and in terms of design and implementation, but than the Buffalo. But the armor on the Buffalo is still quite good. But my thing is it's got 12 guns. It's American piercing shells, so they've got better normalization angles. So I'm thinking, well, this could be a very nice brawling ship. Of course, not as good as some of the other ships, but when you think about it, like Rune, like tier 9 German heavy cruiser Rune, it's got a nice German torpedoes, 6 kilometers. It's a nice addition for a cruiser. The only downside is that it's got 2 turrets in the rear, and 1 turret in the front, so it's not very good in close quarters, whereas the Hindenburg, it has 2 and 2, so you can kind of you know, you can kind of push when you like. You don't have to be in very specific situations, and that's kind of what I was thinking with the Buffalo. Now here, unfortunately, we do get some Cyclones, which is obviously not optimal, but it could be worse. So looking here, obviously I'm going to turn away from a Bismarck if I can, and since I use my radar there, I can use that little bit of a buffer room, and here we go. We're just going to go to town. And my goal here is, I'm going to pause this right here. One of the reasons I turned around is because, well, going head on with the cruiser is against the battleships is not a good idea. I also looked before I went around the corner, is that I was thinking, what should I do? I saw my Alsace going in, so I knew I had to support him, but I have to do it intelligently. Now I know that, well, we are at the disadvantage. We have one less ship, and that one less ship is a destroyer, and they also have 2 battleships. So in terms of Cyclone, that can be pretty devastating, especially against cruisers. So I know I have to turn out here, and as soon as I turn out here, I also look at what ships are around me, and I see this Baltimore here, and I think, oh, thank God, because this means that I can just kite away from this guy, take some fire for him. That's fine, I don't care. But as long as I've got 2 ships fighting against one, this is always a good idea. Even against a battleship, it's kind of, if you guys play World of Tanks, you always want to have 2 medium tanks versus 1 heavy. The 2 mediums are always going to win. Same thing applies here with cruisers and battleships. You have 2 cruisers versus 1 battleship. Unless the battleship gets extremely lucky, there's no way that he's getting out of that fight. And I mean, look at this. American piercing shells are just, they're too good. So we're gonna kill this Bismarck here, and we're gonna get 110,000 damage. Now we're at 115, and we're at 7 citadels with 2 ships killed. So pretty nice game overall thus far. Haven't really tanked much, haven't really spotted all that much, but we've been in the right spots, I would say, in the right times. We also have a nice 300-point cap lead, so that is also a nice thing. Now, something to be careful of. I do remember this Missouri having somewhat low health. And this is key, because since I know this information from earlier, I know that I can, if I need to, take on this Missouri. Now, right here, I'm just shooting blind, completely blind. I'm looking at where this Baltimore is shooting, and then seeing where the shells hit. Like, I can see right there, and then I can kind of aim again and hope for the best. It's not a true and very reliable way to do it, but it is the best way that I know, and that's kind of how you do it a lot of times. Now, I see this Baltimore's turning out, so I know, well, I have to turn out here, and I'm going to turn out here for one of 2 reasons. I'm going to pause it one more time. One of 2 reasons. I see this Baltimore. He does not want anything to do with these three ships here, and the carrier, I guess, too. He has nothing. He's never going to win that fight. So it was a good play by this Baltimore to run away. Also, the other reason I'm running away is, well, we've got a 300-point lead. Yeah, we're down a ship, but we've got a 300-point lead. And with only 7 minutes left and 2 caps, well, it's not saying that we're going to win for sure, but we are certainly in a better position. So I'm going to kind of turn out here and I'm trying to help this Baltimore out as much as possible by putting myself in the line of fire. And again, pairing up, since I see that, and this was a nice drop by the carrier who actually helped us out quite a lot there. So now that the battleship's dead, I know that I can go in with no problem. But again, there you saw me and the Baltimore working together. We were, you know, tag teaming. 2 cruisers versus 1 battleship. The 2 cruisers are always going to win. Now here, the Moskva. I'm at 31,000 health, and this is the part that I was talking about, that I didn't think this ship isn't as good of a brawler as I first thought. I thought, well, I can get some nice shots in, but the problem with this ship is that it's so difficult to get the rear turrets into play. And the thing with that is, if you could get the rear turrets into play and still be shooting your full broadside, that would be most optimal. But I have to sacrifice half of my DPM here, and just so that this Moskva doesn't, penetrate me all the time. But now I'm down to about 13,000 health, and I think I'm going to take this Moskva out here, which I do with 3 citadels. But see there, I didn't increase my DPM at all, because I couldn't. Because if I did, that Moskva would have chewed me apart. I know he's got a better reload than me, and even if it's the same reload, his shells are so fast that I can't turn in time to get my bow back into angle properly. So this ship, I've learned a few things. You can play this more of an open water cruiser. We saw that in the beginning there. In terms of brawling, this ship can do it, but when you're going one-on-one and you're chasing the other guy, or something to that effect, this ship does struggle, because with the Baltimore you had a lower reload, even with reload mod. I'm using reload mod here, by the way, if you haven't noticed. So I still have a worse reload than the old Baltimore did, and this is of course, this means that the Baltimore, although it has 3 guns, it's got 2 guns in front, but it's got a better reload, so it can actually put out more DPM than if I were just to stick bow on and use my 2 front guns. So with that being said, let's take a look at the screenshots. So I hope you guys kind of understood what I was trying to mention there at the end. If you didn't, basically what I'm trying to say is the old Baltimore with the reload mod versus the Buffalo with the reload mod. If you're going bow on and you're only using your 2 front turrets on each ship, the old Baltimore would have been a better choice for a brawler, hands down, because of the reload difference in between the guns. Now, open water, that DPM gap does close, and the Buffalo might actually be better in the DPM department in that case. But when you're brawling in these sub 10 kilometer sub 10 kilometer ranges, and you are, I guess, one-on-one, then the Buffalo isn't as strong as I first thought. But with that being said, we ended up getting 165,000 damage, 12 planes shot down, not too bad against a tier 10 aircraft carrier, 3 ships killed, 12 citadels, 3 base captures. So that's awesome. Team score wise, 27-14. Pretty nice game overall. I thought this was a pretty exciting game. Of course, I did get some nice XP multipliers, but nonetheless, we ended up doing 126,000 in AP and then 28,000 in HE. A mere 10,000 in fires. But this ship, its strengths are its alpha strikes, because of those 12 guns, and that's what I think it's better at. So we did receive quite a bit of damage, but I'm okay with spending a lot of my hit points for great gains, and of course the win at the end of the day. Credits earned almost 400k. Not bad for a tier 9 premium ship. Not premium ship, but tier 9 ship rather. Anyways, guys, I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope you enjoyed this replay, and let me know what you guys think about the Buffalo, and I guess what you think about maybe the other U.S. cruisers that got moved around a little bit, i.e. the Pensacola. But I hope you guys have a wonderful day. I'm streaming a little bit more often now, so link will be in the description, so if you feel like checking me out, I'd be more than appreciated. Don't have a set stream schedule set up yet, but I'm hoping to get that down soon. But anyways, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys later.